What is up? What is up, my people? We are back again with another video, another live stream, and we got a special guest today, my man Jon Machota. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, look, it's so good to have you on, man. Such good energy. I am a big fan when it comes to you. I got to turn some music on. Hey, Rob, what is going on, bro? How you doing, man?
Hey, man. Hey, it's all love. Hey, glad to be back. Glad to be back. Let's go. Let's rock it.
I know, right? Get this thing going, man. Let me see. Let me turn up. Turn up and
Jon, pleasure having you, sir. Pleasure having you.
Yeah, pleasure having you, man. I'm telling you, it's such an honor. And man, as far as Twitter, all the information that you give to Dallas Cowboys Nation is always great energy. So glad for you to hop on. But this is what I wanted to do. I want to break down and talk about how did this all start. You know, I'm not trying to have like an interview type of energy, but I want to know from the athletic. Working for the Dallas Cowboys is such a good thing. I just want to know how did it all start, man.
Yeah, it wasn't like one of these things where I grew up thinking that this is what I was going to be doing. Frankly, if I'm being honest, I never thought I would even be able to do something like this, you know? So it was one of those things. I just grew up a sports fan in Detroit. And I went to school for journalism, and I was working in the Detroit area, you know, helping cover a lot of high school stuff, things like that. And I'd help out on, you know, Detroit Tigers, some Lions stuff here and there, and then whatever was, available with the Detroit Free Press, answering phone calls for high school stuff, all that. And I really got the itch that I was like, man, I'd love to cover a pro team. And I was hoping it'd be one of the Detroit teams, but there just weren't any jobs that opened up. And fortunately enough, eventually, after doing that for a few years, one of my bosses there got a job in Dallas and was like, hey, if you're willing to move down here, I can't give you anything full time, but I can give you plenty of work. There'll be plenty of stuff to do. And at that time in my life, you know, I was in my late 20s. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, if it doesn't work out, I guess the worst thing is I just would have to move my stuff back to Michigan. And so that was towards the end of 2010. And so I moved down here. It was like October 2010 and been down here ever since. And I started out doing high schools and helping out. Mavs were really good at that time. The Rangers were really good at that time. So I'd help out with that stuff. But while I was doing that, I would go out to Valley Ranch as much as possible. And it was cool to be around that because I was born in '82. So those 90s Cowboys are right in my wheelhouse of like falling in love with sports. And even in Detroit, man, I'm telling you, like those Dallas Cowboys teams were always on TV, you know? I mean, to be honest with you, you know, when I was growing up, I felt like that John Madden and Pat Summerall just called Cowboys games because I just seemed like all their games they were calling, you know? And so when I got down, it was really cool, basically what I'm getting at to go into Valley Ranch, because you're just like, man, this is where all that was, you know, Emmett, Troy, Michael, all that, you know, Jerry and Jimmy, and not just, you know, the on the field, but also the off the field. I mean, behind Valley Ranch is the White House, you know, there's all that like, you know, history to that I just thought it was so cool to be around it. And certainly when you're around it, you're around other writers who you can tell don't really care. They're like, I've been doing this for 20, 30 years. I don't care anymore, you know, whatever. And I was pretty wide-eyed about it. And so I would do anything. I mean, to be honest with you, I've sacrificed most in my life. I mean, I'm not married. I don't have kids.
Really?
My life is really covering the Dallas Cowboys. And to be honest with you, one of the biggest reasons for that is really the fan base. It's just that whether it's good or bad, they're so passionate about it that there's never a time where there's times throughout my life I've written stories, you know, coming up where I was like, how many people are really going to read this? But I'll do it. It's my job, whatever. I have never once written a Cowboy story and been like, you know, but is anybody going to read this? No, people are going to read this.
Definitely.
Just, you know, put it out there, you know?
I'm
and so
Right.
It's funny too, because now that I'm covering the Cowboys full time, and I've been doing that full time since 2014, it's just one of those things where like, it's all I want to do. You know, I've had people ask me, well, do you want to, you know, eventually be like an NFL writer and you know, be a reporter, break all the NFL news type stuff like that? Yeah, I really don't. Like, it seems exhausting to me. My plate's full with the Cowboys, and I'm fine with, you know, being associated with the Cowboys for as long as I can do that.
And it's crazy because I didn't even know you were that young. You say 82. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. But just like you said, everything Cowboys, man. And, you know, Jerry Jones, all that great energy within that organization. That's why we love this team so much. And that's why I've been working so hard as far as this YouTube. I've been doing this for a year and it's hitting the ground running. You know what I mean? It's always a blessing to have you on with us, man. And my man, Captain Rob. My man, Captain Rob's been doing a good job too as well. So shout out to you, Captain Rob.
Hey, let's get it. Hey, John, quick question. Being from Detroit, Barry or Emmett, what's going on? Who you taking?
Oh, I mean, to be honest with you, the only person in my life of watching sports that would ever be put on a higher level than Barry is Michael Jordan. That's it.
Okay.
So it's a tough one for me to answer.
Absolutely.
But I can say with covering football, one of the best things about it is, you go in trying to you're working on a certain story, we'll say, and whatnot, but there's just so much you learn just through basically like osmosis of just being around stuff. And when I was younger, it was not even a comparison between Barry and Emmett to me. I mean, it was just the eye test was Barry's just so much more talented. But as I got older and you learn more about football, you're like, yeah, but one, Emmett is he's a winner. When you run the ball the way Emmett did, and obviously he had the outstanding offensive lines, but to go play through the injuries and do things he did, I mean, I would argue he's the biggest reason for those 3 championships. Now it's probably the triplets all together, but his success, especially at that era of football, was just so huge that it's tough for me to completely write him off. And now I completely understand why it's a legit debate. And then the other thing that factors in is that, Emmett emptied the tank. We never got to see bad Barry. It's like, I mean, when you grow up a Lions fan, you just feel like you're just seeing it all over again with Calvin Johnson, where it's like, there's a party where you're like, I almost wanted to see what, the Wizards, Michael Jordan, or, Emmett with Arizona, to see like, what does it look like when it falls? Because you just never seen it with Barry or Calvin. And then it's just like, and then it's gone. And there's just all those what ifs. It's just like, how did you waste this talent? How did this talent not get to a Super Bowl? And because of that, it's crazy. But yeah, no, I totally get, people saying that, but I get it.
Do you feel you had the same thing kind of in Matt Stafford with kind of like the Michael Jordan moving on type thing? He went on and won a championship, obviously, but like, was he in that same realm? Like, was he in that same realm as Calvin and Barry to you? In the Detroit?
No. For me, Calvin's not even on that level for me either. It's for me, it's like Barry, Isaiah Thomas, guys like that were, when you're a kid, it doesn't even matter if you're winning, championships. You're just like, oh my God, that's so-and-so,
Yes.
I mean, you could go to these training camps that the Lions would have, and Barry would sign every single autograph, and you would just be like, awesome. Oh my God, that's Barry Sanders. That's so crazy, and so that's why they're on that level. But yeah, to me, like, Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Like, nobody's on his level for me. So I compare everything to Michael Jordan. If somebody's like recently I went and saw Dave Chappelle. He did a show at American Airlines Center. And it was funny because when I'm sitting there watching, I'm just like, man, I think he's the Michael Jordan of comedy. Like, I'm just like, like, I was just like, I feel like I'm watching Michael Jordan right now, but it is just funny because my whole life is like so sports related. So there's comparisons I'll make talking to like my mom on the phone, and she's not understanding what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, you wouldn't get it.
About that.
Yeah. No, this person's the Michael Jordan of whatever, they don't get it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because Dave Chappelle is actually from the DMV. That's where we're from in Maryland. So got a lot of respect for him. Yeah, he's definitely the Michael Jordan of comedy. What I mean? It's funny because I actually was doing comedy with me and my wife. We was doing comedy a little bit, and I kind of try to mimic myself as, a Dave Chappelle having different personalities. So
hey, I'll tell you what, man. Like, the two things I don't think get enough credit in the entertainment world is, one for me is how difficult it would be to be, let's say, like a professional boxer. Just the type of shape you have to be in, and like boxing isn't as popular as it used to be, so I don't feel like it just is like the ultimate thing, and I just feel like it's not really talked about. People will see a certain athlete and be like, this person's in such great shape, and you're just like, yeah, but are they in boxing shape? I think about that a lot lately with the Cowboys because Micah's been doing a lot more of that boxing training and stuff. But the other thing I was going to say is comedy, because just the idea of you standing up there all by yourself, you have to tell jokes, and people are not there just to hear you tell stories. Like, they want you to make them laugh, and that's not an easy thing to do. So whether you're great at comedy, okay, terrible, my hat's off to you if you can do stand-up comedy. That just seems terrifying.
I'm telling you, man, you got to be natural when it comes to that, man. So it's definitely a blessing. All these different skill sets we talking about right now. But all right, so this is what we're gonna do, guys. This is what we're gonna do. So we're gonna chop this down. Let's get to Dak Prescott. We got to go straight to it. I got so much respect when it comes down to Dak Prescott. I believe that this player can get us to where we want to go. And it's the little things when it comes down to him. Don't try to I don't want him to try to go out there and be like Josh Allen. I don't want him to go out there to be like Patrick Mahomes. Just be yourself. He's beaten up on a division, but he's going to have to win when it matters most. Going up against these teams like the 49ers, he has what it takes. They're building around him, and they're saying that they're trying to marry 70% of what we used to do to 30% West Coast offense, or the Texas Coast, however they want to call it. But I think that if you're building around Dak Prescott, we can get to where we want to go. He has what it takes, running the ball. And the thing that's so crazy is when Dak Prescott, when he first came to the Dallas Cowboys, and you take Tony Romo's position, that the pressure, just like we say with the comedy, is so much pressure when it comes down to being a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Just doing that, man, I gained so much respect for this guy, and I think that he can get us to where we want to go. But you just got to get down to the little things. It's the details, the fundamentals, understanding what's going on in OTAs, everybody being on the same page, and I think we can get to where we need to be, John.
Yeah, I think it comes down to where they're at now, roster-wise. They're going to need a little bit of luck, like guys staying healthy, and because for me, it's all about January. Dak he'd come off to a season where he has even more interceptions than he had last season, and it could be terrible. And you're just like, man, Dak has really dropped off. But then he gets hot in January and they get to a Super Bowl. No one's going to care about that. And then the flip side of that is he could have his best regular season where, he's up for MVP and everybody's talking about him. They get in the playoffs, losing the divisional round again. And it'll be the same conversations that people are having now. But, going back to the Matthew Stafford thing, I kind of see that with Dak and the whole. I get that there's the fan base that it's frustration because you see how poorly he played at the end of the year against Washington. You see how poorly he played against the 49ers. But then the flip side is right in between those two games, because those two games I think are arguably the worst games I've seen him play. But then right in between them is the Tampa Bay game that I argue might be the best game I've ever seen him play. And so it's one of those, like, be careful what you wish for, to all those fans that think like, or even people that just don't like the Cowboys, that if you think that they should go in another direction there, like, if they went another direction while Dak's still in the prime of his career, that's why I think of Stafford, because like watch him go to another team that the only thing that they're missing is that quarterback, that leader type guy that, that kind of, the Cowboys fans probably take for granted because they're sick of hearing about, oh, he's such a great leader. But that could be the piece that puts a team over the top. And just how sick would you feel if that happened, And so,
right.
Yeah, do I think he's like Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow? No. But I don't think he's Kirk Cousins. And I think he's got a good 4 or 5 years of really good ball ahead of him. When I say the luck thing, I mean that, there's some luck involved on just, like the play where he got tackled by Logan Ryan. I mean, of course, that I can see that entering, in an area where, yeah, you should have went down, sprained ankle or something like that. For it to be that gruesome and to the level it went to, it's pretty freak for a guy that really doesn't have much injuries up to that point in his career, especially with the physical style ball he plays. So, yeah, do I think that there are better quarterbacks in the NFL? Of course I do. But I also think that there are so many worse ones, and there's so much of a higher chance of you messing this up by going another direction and it being back to those days between Aikman to Romo, to just think that you're going to go Romo, Dak, and then just another guy on that level or better. Man, good luck with that, because that position, I'm telling you, there's a lot of luck involved with finding. I mean, you look at Patrick Mahomes, like, he wasn't 1-1. I mean, for as great as Patrick Mahomes is, you'd think that we would have been talking about him going in that draft the way that we talked today about like Victor Wembanyama or LeBron, like, well, this is can't miss, whatever. And that wasn't how he was talked about, So there's a lot of luck with finding that right quarterback.
Right.
Yep. Go ahead, Rob.
So I was gonna say, I mean, there's Patrick Mahomes to me, and then there's really everybody else. You can make an argument for a lot of people in this league to be in the top 5, top 10, just flipping and flopping, however they're playing. Josh Allen at the beginning of last year, I said Josh Allen was the best quarterback in the game, better than Patrick Mahomes going into the season, just because of his talent. I thought Patrick Mahomes looked better because he had Tyreek Hill and it made him look more splashy. I was like, I'll take Josh Allen. One year after that, he throws 17 picks. Buffalo kind of forgets how to play offense. Like, I don't know what they're doing up there. But so that you can make so many arguments for these guys. And you can easily make the argument for Dak to be up with these guys. He plays at a high level so many times. He's never bad. He's never like, oh, Dak's the reason why we lost that game, right? Some people can argue with the San Francisco game. San Francisco and Dak, he has to get over that hump. But Dak's a great quarterback. Like he's gone through so much in his career. He's gone through so many changes from a coaching standpoint to the running the ball Cowboys to the passing the ball Cowboys to head coach Kellen Moore. Is it Kellen Moore or is it Mike McCarthy? Now we know that that's going to be Mike McCarthy. I'm very excited for that. He said it the other day. He's like, I finally have momentum going from last season to this season. He's like, that's the first time I felt that in my career, right? And that's weird coming off of 15 interception season, where I continued to say I thought Dak got better as a quarterback last year. He threw the picks. There's reasons for that. If you watch the Mike Martz video, there's reasons for that. Bad route running, timing, whatever. But I thought he was taking those chances because he finally got the confidence in his team and his defense. He's like, oh man, my defense can actually play football now, right? Like I can take these chances. I'm going to get the ball right back. How many times did Dak throw multiple picks in a game and we still won the game by 2-3 touchdowns? You know what I mean? But the 3-4 network will never give you that credit. Right.
They never try to give you that credit, man. It's so crazy. ESPN, they try to nitpick when it comes down to the Dallas Cowboys, but the thing is with Dak Prescott, like a lot of those interceptions were bounced off a wide receiver's chest. At least like 6 of them, John. At least 6 of those interceptions. So a lot played part in what was going on last year. They were saying that Kellen Moore, they were saying that you got 2 offensive coordinators on the team at the same time. Sometimes that can cause a little confusion, but if Dak can just get back to the little things, that's why I say like not playing the most basic ball, but just running that juggernaut, understanding what you can do. You have the receivers, you have the run game, you have the offensive line. Just go out there and pick your shots and let it rip. Let it rip when it's time to. But my thing is with Dak Prescott, I think he can be able to get it done. Got so much confidence in him, man. I'm just so proud that, we're getting these guys, we're bringing in all these other players, and I think Dak can get this thing rolling, y'all.
Yeah, and the other thing is last year with the receivers, I'm fine with them moving on from Amari Cooper. They should have gotten more for him, but the problem is that they didn't do enough to replace him, and they thought they would get more out of Jalen Tolbert. It didn't happen. They thought Michael Gallup would be healthier and back to the way he was before the injury than he actually was. And so they go out and get Brandon Cooks, and that'll help a lot. CD continues to ascend to, elite level. So if they can get some solid receiver play there, I think that would have helped them out a lot last year. That, towards the end of the year, that really started. Like, they brought in T.Y. Hilton, and there were some times where there were some flashes, but it just never clicked all the way to where they needed to be. So, that's a big factor in it as well.
30.
Yeah, but I will say this too. I mean, this team shouldn't need to score the way it has needed to score in the past just because of how good this defense is. It's got to be more of the taking care of the football. You're going to get opportunities to score. This defense will create opportunities for you to score. Don't try and do too much. Just play solid football and you'll be in it. In a way, it kind of reminds me a little bit of 2014. Now, obviously 2014, it's a different team. This defense is just on a whole nother level than 2014. But in 2014, they went in and Jason Garrett was like, this isn't going to be, we're just putting it all on Tony Romo's shoulders. We're going to lean on the run game heavier than we have. And we have this offensive line. We have DeMarco Murray. And obviously it was this huge season for Murray, sets the franchise rushing record and all that. But also because of that, Romo ended up having arguably his best season. And he was as efficient as he's ever been. And I thought he was playing as confident as I've ever seen him. And so that's where I see like this team where I think for so long when you have Romo and then you go to Dak, you're looking for them to always put up like these big numbers of like, 40 plus touchdowns and, all the yards and all that stuff. Like they're at a spot now where it's more about the just take care of the football. Like don't do anything crazy. Just play steady football. And this defense is going to keep you in every game and give you a chance to win every game.
Yeah, that's the thing, man.
Sorry, Jesse. What do you think our defense is ranked amongst the big boys in the league?
Oh, I mean, right up there with any one of them. One of the biggest things that they got going for them is that they were able to keep Dan Quinn. So you have all that continuity that you can roll in there, and then you bring in a veteran like Stephon Gilmore, who, as long as he's able to stay healthy, the fact that he'd be your number 2 corner, it's just great. And then the fact that you got Jerron Bland coming off of a surprise rookie season that he had, so you just have you have a lot of key pieces there to where Then you add Mozzie Smith and and then re-sign Hankins, and that shores up the middle of that defense. So, I mean, they really don't have a weakness on defense. The only thing I would say is that I think they're a little thin in their backup linebacker spots. If they were to lose Leighton and Damone Clark, I think they might be in some trouble there. But I think if that was to happen, they would go out and sign a veteran. Right. But every other spot, I mean, they're deep at safety. They got plenty of guys to rush the passer. So there's not really a weakness there. And so if they can come anywhere close to what they've done the last couple of years in taking away the ball, I mean, you can't just sit there and expect a team to lead the league every single year, but I mean, they should be in the mix. But if they can continue doing that on top of, I don't see any way that they're not more solid against the run. And as long as that happens, I don't see how they're not among that top 2 or 3 defenses in the league. There's no reason they shouldn't be.
Exactly. Hey, shout out to my man, Coach Marv. What's going on, man? He said, JC, question for Jon. Who do he think that will benefit the most with McCarthy taking over, not named Dak?
Yeah, that's a good one because I guess I'd probably lean on Michael Gallup, and the only reason I say that is because there were just multiple times last year where McCarthy and Kellen Moore talked about how it's like, yeah, that's on us. We got to get Michael more involved. We got to get Michael more involved. Now, a lot of that had to do with Michael too. I mean, those type of knee injuries, especially for a wide receiver, it's tough to just come back the very next season and be, oh, this is just like I was before, especially for a guy like Michael Gallup, who that's the first like real injury he's ever had in his career. Right. And so because of that, there's a mental side that comes with that too. It's not just like, oh, I went out there, I'm working with the trainer, knee feels good, let's roll. I mean, you're playing football and guys are coming after you. And so there's a mental side of like, all right, when I come down with this, is my knee going to be right? Am I going to, is it going to happen again? Like what happened the first time he got hurt, so there's some confidence that needs to be built back up. But I think Gallup is the one that stands out to me because he also fits in that kind of, Jordy Nelson, Donald Driver, like the bigger type receivers that Mike McCarthy's had, when he's had his most success in the NFL. Those are the West Coast type wide receivers with the good size like that. And so I think Michael Gallup's the guy that's going to have a much better year this year, where he's, in that 1,000-yard type, 6-7 touchdown type guy.
See, the thing is, like with me, when it comes down to Michael Gallup, he's one of my favorite wide receivers on his team. And just the physicality that he brings, he's that guy that if he's running a dig route, a slant route, he catches the ball and he sets the tone. That is what you need for all of the wide receivers, all of these guys. And he's a 1,000-yard wide receiver. But my thing is, I'm not sure. One of these guys are not going to get 1,000 yards because if you're running at 12 personnel with all those tight ends, the ball, it's only one ball. You know what I mean? If you got Brandon Cooks out there, you got CeeDee Lamb. If Gallup can be a 700, 800-yard wide receiver, that's fine. That's fine. But if he can get healthy and just lock back in, I think he can be something for us. But it's going to be special, though, because just having CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, being able to take the top off the defense, CeeDee Lamb understanding spatial awareness, all the little things, nuanced route runner, that is very, very important for the offense. And it's going to be fireworks, man. What you think, Rob?
So to answer Coach Marr's question, I think the biggest person who's going to benefit is CeeDee Lamb. And that's coming from maybe a personnel perspective as well. But this is a dude who caught 1350 last year, 100 balls and 8 touchdowns, with his quarterback only playing 12 games. I think this is a hot take, but I think he's on the verge of another breakout season. I see him 16, 17, 18 maybe, right? Depending on who Dak is really favoring, just game after game after game after game, right? He already has that rapport with CD. CD wants it. He's only getting better. This is his 4th year, and his career has always just been like here, right? And now that he has Brandon Cooks on the other side, right? Which, Jon, I'm in your boat. I was okay with getting rid of Amari Cooper. I thought getting rid of Amari Cooper and Lyle Collins and Randy Gregory, it helped us reset our cap for this year to pick up a Gilly and a Brandon Cooks, right? To go get those guys. And we still have $25 million in cap space, right? I don't think it's over. I think there's something. Jon, you tell me, you're the inside man. Like,
I linebacker.
So I think we're thin at linebacker, and I still think there's question marks in the running back room. What would you do? What do you think we're gonna do? We have never had $25 million at this point in the season ever, right? And like we have players available to trade. the Dorrance Armstrongs, the Jordan Lewises of the world. Like, we're in such a good position to maybe go get one more player, or like, this is one of those talented teams I think we've had in a while. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would say left guard is a spot to keep an eye on, just because if nobody emerges there, I don't think that they'll just kind of be like, well, we tried. This is what we got here. I think that they would
Tyler Smith.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if they're going with their best five, Tyler Smith should be your left guard. But I just wonder, how long are you able to stay with that before, where's Terrence Steele coming back from his knee injury? And then how long will, Tyron Smith stay healthy? So you got to factor those things in. And so if you have to put Tyler Smith back out at left tackle, then who's your left guard? And because of that, if let's say they get through camp and nobody's really emerging as being a guy they can trust there, I could see them going out and making a move for a veteran there. Same thing with that number 2 running back spot. If Malik Davis isn't emerging, or Ronald Jones, or they're not getting as much as maybe they were hoping for from like a Deuce Vaughn, maybe they go out for like a Leonard Fournette or something like that. But where I have my doubts is, when people talk about like a Dalvin Cook or like a DeAndre Hopkins, like they're not going to do anything significant financially like that, because while they're in position right now to make a deep run and the NFC is as wide open as I can ever remember it, at the same time, they also know that they need another contract with Dak and CD and Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs and Steele and maybe some others, Tyler Biadasz. There's others that are going to come. So because of that, they're not going to just go and outlandishly spend and use what they have right now just to get somebody, because they're like, no, we're going all in for this season.
Right.
I don't see them doing something, on that type of level, like to really break the bank. But if they can go get a veteran that's somewhat affordable, because that veteran feels like, hey, I could be the missing piece and the Cowboys getting to a Super Bowl, then by all means, I could see them doing something like that.
Right. Hey, one quick shout out to my man Double R. What's going on, man? Hey, he said, JC, keep up the great work. Also, hello to the guest speaker tonight. Thanks for stopping by and talking to Cowboys Nation, man. Shout out to you, John. Shout out to you. And shout out to my man DC Rough Riders. What's going on, man, for the $20 super? Thank you so much for all you do for Cowboys Nation, man. I appreciate you so much. All right, so here's the thing. When it comes down to Dalvin Cook, I believe that Dalvin Cook has the same type of skill set as Tony Pollard. So this is what we're going to do, right? We're going to run my little all 22. I had one. I created one. Okay, boom. We're going to run it up like this. Tony Pollard, he has the same type of skill set when it comes down to a Dalvin Cook. And if he can get healthy, he's just going to have to just stay focused, get back to where he needs to be, and he can be able to have a 1,800, 2,000 all-purpose type of season. The vision, the speed, understanding, spacing, this guy is so good, man. I'm so excited to see this player this year. And usually, right, when players are playing on a 1-year deal, if you think about Saquon Barkley, if you think about Josh Jacobs, these guys turn up. They turn up. But as far as that second running back position, just like you guys said, you're going to have to get somebody in there. I'm not sure if Dalvin Cook is going to be the guy, because they have the same type of skill set. What you think about that, Rob?
So, you and me differ on this a little bit. I believe if you bring in a guy like Dalvin Cook for, let's say, a 2-year, $20 million deal, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't affect your cap that much, in the sense that you're going to extend Dak. When Micah gets his contract, his first cap number isn't going to hit for another 3 years. The same thing with CD for like another 2 years, like a big cap number. And I believe Tony is phenomenal. Like, we're seeing his highlight tape right now, and it's fantastic to watch. And I hope he comes back the same player. I was heartbroken when he broke his leg last year. I was like, this is a guy that's finally getting a shot, and then he breaks his leg like that. Like, look how explosive he is. I feel like if the one question mark about Tony going into last season was, can he be that 25 carry a game guy? And I think the general consensus is no, right? So now if you bring in a guy like Dalvin Cook, who's also gone through injuries, right? And if you split carries between them, 12 to 15 a pop, right? I'm okay with him having the same skill set, because you never have that level of talent leave the field anymore, right? Tony to Malik Davis is going to go from here to here, right? But Tony and Dalvin, they're right here. And if you can get Dalvin for 8, 9, 10 for a year, just to load up and get to the Super Bowl, like, I'm done putting things off to the future, right? It's been 28 years. You know what I'm saying? It's been 20 years. I'm trying to load up and go get this ship right now. So I'm okay with go getting a guy like that. But now I completely understand John's point in saying the cap is a factor. We have a lot of guys coming up that we need to sign. And I like all our guys. You know, we love our guys. That's Cowboys motto, right? But bringing an outside guy, like, you know, we might need it. Like, because as soon as Tony went down in that playoff game, we fell off a notch, right? He was our second playmaker. Really, he was really two of two playmakers. Now this year, I do believe we have some more, and Cooks and Gallup return and CD. I want to get your take on Jake Ferguson. That's my boy. But I think they're just question marks. I'm not saying Malik Davis isn't good or Ronald Jones or the rookie, but it's just question marks. And since college, Tony Pollard has only carried the ball 20 times, one time, and that was the Green Bay game. And he was sucking for air. He was like, "Yo, I need a sub. So that's just my take.
Yeah, no, the Cowboys have been like that too, where they feel like he's been at his best when he's gets a breather and he can get back out there and he can hit it in, and like some of those plays you just highlighted, you know, put it into full gear and turn some plays that for a lot of backs, that's going to be a 15-20 yard gain into a huge touchdown play. And so, while, yeah, I'm sure he can handle 20 carries a game, I think that they also want to try and keep his numbers down a little bit because of the fact of, one, you want him when he's out there to be at his absolute best. And then two, when I say 20 carries a game, yeah, I care about that in January. I really don't care about him getting 20 carries a game during the regular season. They should be able to win games without having to lean on Tony Pollard to just carry them. And so because of that, this is back-to-back 12-win seasons. My mind isn't even really on the regular season with this team at all. It's about where are you situated for in January? And I don't need to be in January going, man, do we really need to give Tony 20 carries a game? He's kind of beat up right now. Like, wow, cool. Did you beat the Commanders? Awesome. That's great. We're going to hang a banner for that. Like, I need to see Tony Pollard be as healthy as possible in the playoffs. Because like you said, man, that offense was night and day when he went out of that Niners game.
Right.
And I wanted to throw this in here real quick, John, because it's crazy with DeMarco Murray. Remember his final year, they was giving him the ball. I mean, they was running this guy to the ground on that 1 year deal. Because we know next year, I mean, he's going to go off this year and he's going to demand a lot of money. Do you think they're going to run this man into the ground just like they did DeMarco Murray? If that's what it's going to be, I'm not liking it. You know what I mean? So, but you said 20 rushes. I'm thinking about that, but I'm thinking about catching too. I mean, catches and rushes. If you're touching the ball 20 times, period, I think that's a lot for Tony Pollard.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think he'll get the DeMarco Murray workload because, like I said, this defense is better. I think Dak is in a spot in his career where he's going to be able to get a lot of receivers involved. They're going to do a lot of stuff out of the backfield, short tosses and things like that. I don't think it's going to be as much of just handing it to Tony and hey, we're going to lean on the defense and Tony, and then that's just the way it's going to be. I don't see him being utilized like that because that just doesn't seem like his game like it was with DeMarco. But by all means, they're not going to shy away from trying to get as much as they can out of Tony, you know, and that's just the way that the business is. It sucks. I mean, it sucks to be a running back right now in the NFL, but that's not just a Cowboys or Tony Pollard thing. That's the entire league.
And JC, don't we have the history of doing that to running backs?
Yeah, we'll put them to the ground, bro. We'll run them.
we when we get a good running back that we like, we run that boy to the ground. Like it's
yeah. That's why I say guys like Ronald Jones, like I don't know what this player is going to be. I mean, I know he was one of my favorite players coming out of USC, but when you get to Tampa Bay and you have a fumbling issue, you have fumbling problems, you're hot, and then you're cold, you don't know what type of player you're going to get with this guy. My thing is, Rob, can he block? Can he block? Because my main thing is when it comes down to the running back position, goal line, physicality, being able to protect Dak Prescott. That's what I want out of this second running back.
Yes.
That's why I was having questions about Dalvin Cook, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Can he protect Dak Prescott?
Yes. So apparently, I did my homework on Dalvin Cook's blocking to answer your question because I can never really answer it straightforward because I was like, I don't know if Dalvin Cook can block. That's not his game. But apparently he's like a top 5 guy when it comes to blocking. He's not the Zeke that we know. Like Zeke devastates linebackers coming through the middle, right? We don't know really any other running back to do that. Kind of since like Emmett, really. Emmett used to devastate running backs coming too, right? But Dalvin Cook can block, and we also have other that fullback dude. I forgot his name now. He's a rookie fullback.
Hunter Lupke.
Yep. Can he come in there on third down on like a real passing down and be the extra blocker? Sure. Can Schoonmaker do that? Can Ferguson do that? Like I believe blocking from that position is a scheme thing. It's a timing thing. It's a do you want to thing, right? It is a size thing. I think Tony's a little undersized to do that. You've seen Tony get run over a lot by some linebackers, right? But and do I really want Tony blocking for Dak? No, I don't. Get him off the field or get him somewhere else. Get him to do something else, right? Hot route, something, right? Because I can't have Dak breaking his hand anymore. You know what I mean? I need 17 games by my boy.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to definitely be good, man. It's ramped up competition everywhere. Deuce Vaughn, hopefully he can be able to be something. I know he's not the biggest guy, but somebody that he can tear it up on a football field. So I was actually very, very excited that we picked a guy up like him, because being in that West Coast offense, we know that it's predicated on getting these guys open, getting these guys in space. That stuff matters. So Deuce Vaughn, he can get busy. I can't wait to see him coming up this year, man. All right, let me go.
I don't want him blocking Fred Warner coming up the middle.
No chance. Yeah, no chance. Yeah. Hey, shout out to Coach Marv. He said, JC, please tell John this is out in the media. Parsons being a 125 tackle, 18 sack, 3 interception guy. It's never been done. Okay, since we talking about Micah, we can break it down. Go ahead, John. I'm gonna get you to break this one down because we broke down Tony Pollard. So
I would say that 18 sacks would be tough. He's certainly capable of it, but I think 13 to 15 is probably a little bit more where he's at. And then also, I think Sam Williams will have a bigger impact this year on getting to the quarterback. And so I don't know, man, that sack number. He puts up those numbers. He's obviously getting defensive player of the year, and he can impact the game in so many different ways. And it's not like what he's done these first 2 years is like, well, that's the mountaintop. Like he can't improve on that. There's plenty of elite edge rushers that continue to get better in year 3, 4, 5. So I expect him to be in the defensive player of the year category all season long. He, to me, is the biggest reason that they've had back-to-back 12-win seasons, because there's a certain kind of, kind of like a certain middle ground you're going to be at when you have an elite defender like that raises everybody else's play. And if your defense is playing on that type of level, you're going to be in a lot of ball games, and he's been a big reason for that. And I don't see why that would change. I know there were talk of, he's just going to be an edge rusher this offseason, and that's not the case. They're going to continue to move him around as they should. One of their best advantages is the fact that they can move him from, right edge, left edge, rush up the middle, drop into coverage from time to time, and stay on the field a lot. That's where, he can impact the game on any given play. And so, he's easily one of the top 10 players in the league, might even be top 5, but I don't see any reason to think that he can't improve on what he's done up until this point.
Well, the good thing is they're saying that, he's gaining like 5 or 6 pounds. I think he's like 248 pounds now, and he's trying to get up to 255. It's crazy because, making sure he's going to have to gain that muscle, because going against those tackles, throughout the season, your body start aching, and we need this player. It's going to be very, very important. Just like with DeMarcus Lawrence, you need those guys. And we all know that Dan Quinn, he preaches discipline, gap integrity, everybody being on the same page, not playing hero ball. I remember the beginning of last season, he was playing that hero ball, trying to do too much. Dan Quinn was trying to get this player to slow down. So you don't want this player to get hurt, man, because just like you said, man, he is truly special. And it's crazy because when we first drafted him, I went crazy, man. I went off on that. He was definitely my favorite player coming out of that draft, and just having this athletic ability, man, I just knew that he would make a difference, and I think he'll do that this year, Rob.
I love Micah Parsons. I think he's the reason for our back-to-back 12-win seasons last year. Him and Dan Quinn, right? If I had to rank it, I'd be really Dan, Micah, whatever order, and then Dak, right? What Mike has done for this franchise is given us like a legitimate name on defense. When Dan Quinn came in, he said, you guys are not successful because you guys don't play defense. He started banging the table for defensive players. He bought him, four defensive guys on free agency that first year. Then they went 6 straight defensive players, highlighted by Micah Parsons. And then another year, Todd Smith and Mozzie Smith this year. I love Dan Quinn. Micah, though, so the 125 tackle, 18 sack, 3 interceptions, that's just like, I feel like that's too much. He's having to play too much linebacker for that. He's having to play too much go run and make tackles for that.
It's crazy, Rob, because I haven't seen him get an interception yet. So I can't say that the 3 interceptions. I'm not.
1 or 2. You don't got one.
No.
You don't got
that. Yeah.
All right. He ain't Sean Lee. He ain't my favorite, but
Mike is my dog, though. Just keep him.
Mike's my dog. But I think Micah's biggest impact for us is rushing the passer. So you said right edge, left edge, up the middle, occasionally dropping back for passes. So I just don't put him in that 125 tackle category just because I don't think he's getting in that position enough. Because I do believe he's getting ready to play a primary pass rushing position from wherever. They're gonna move up and down the defensive line, but I just don't think he's gonna play enough linebacker for that. But I do see him competing for an 18 sacks to 20 sack season.
Yes.
The 125 tackles and 3 picks. That's just too much. I don't want him playing linebacker. I want him affecting the quarterback. That's where I think this team is based off. Stopping the run down with Mozzie Smith and getting to pass rush scenarios, and having Micah, having Sam, having D-Law, having all those guys with what I think is the best secondary in football. That's where I think we're going to be dominant.
And it's going to be hard for quarterbacks to pick on our corners. You know what I'm saying? You got to really think about what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because just having Stephon Gilmore, having Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland, those guys are stacked. But I do have my questions about that 4th cornerback position. I want to know you guys' thoughts because I know throughout the year, one of those guys are going to get hurt. It's a long season. The first cornerback, 2nd, or the 3rd. That 4th or 5th guy is extremely important. So guys like Deron Bland, I know he can be that guy. But as far as like Kelvin Joseph, possibly Eric Scott, I don't know, but we'll see. Jordan Lewis, I want to see when it comes down to training camp, when you're going up against guys like Brandon Cooks, playing off that line of scrimmage, do you have that short-term memory? We know Brandon Cooks is going to beat you, but when you get beat, can you recover? How quickly can you recover? So you're going to have to lock in and focus because that cornerback position, that 4th and 5th cornerback position is important. And I think that those guys will get a lot of burn. But everything else, man, I think that defensive linebacker position, we'll talk about that in a second. But I think everything else is fireworks, man, and we get this thing going, y'all.
And John, do you think that's an outlandish statement, saying we have the best secondary in football?
No, I mean, they're in the conversation. I mean, Stephon Gilmore has to stay healthy. That's the key to it. And if he does and you have Diggs, then, yeah, you'll be in that conversation because the 3 main safeties, with Hooker and Curse and Wilson have been outstanding for them. Yep. And I know they really want to get Israel Mukuamu on the field. And so that's why it would not surprise me if all those safeties are healthy, if you see Mukuamu playing more of some corner. And I know Dan Quinn likes Jordan Lewis a lot. So if Jordan Lewis is healthy, he's going to see a lot of playing time too. That's why between those guys, then it kind of just leaves it for does Kelvin Joseph or Nashawn Wright or Eric Scott have like a really, good off season to where, hey, you know what? We can trust them a little bit more than maybe, Eric Scott wasn't here last year, but for the other 2, we can trust them a little bit more than we did last year. Obviously, at the end of the year, particularly that Jacksonville game, they didn't show that. But maybe they've shown some stuff during the offseason. Maybe we'll see some stuff in training camp, maybe in the preseason games, because they're going to play a lot to where maybe they make some plays on the ball, and you're like, hey, I didn't feel comfortable about that guy's or 4th or 5th, corner, but I do now, and so that's kind of what I think there. But I wouldn't sleep on Jordan Lewis, though. I think Jordan Lewis has a chance too, as long as he's healthy. He's just a veteran presence. There's not much you're going to throw at him that he hasn't seen. Dan Quinn likes to use him in a variety of ways, and that's been one of Dan Quinn's greatest strengths. And so whether it's Jordan Lewis or Mukuamu, I mean, heck, that's a big reason for the success that J-Ron Curse has had is because the way Dan Quinn has used them. Obviously, Micah Parsons too, and so they got a lot of bodies they can throw in that secondary. So yeah, no, they have the chance to be, in that conversation of best secondaries in the league for sure. But Gilmore, and the only reason I say it is just because as you start getting on the other side of 30, you just never know. But if you tell me Stephon Gilmore's out there all season, then yeah, there's no reason they shouldn't be in that conversation.
Right. It's so crazy, man, because everything you be saying be so spot on. It's the way I be thinking. You know what I mean? I think that Jordan Lewis is going to surprise. I think he's going to surprise people. I don't think he's going. We know that Deron Bland is going to start because, I mean, he's been doing very, very good. He can play the outside. He can play the slot position. But Jordan Lewis, a lot of people aren't talking about him, but there's some people are saying, oh, we need to trade him or we need to cut him. That's why I was saying the fourth wide receiver, the fourth cornerback, the fifth cornerback, they're going to get some burn because all of these guys are not going to be healthy throughout the year. You might miss a play. You might miss 2 games, 3 games. We need these corners. They're just like pass rushers, man. You can't have, I mean, you can have so many of those guys. You know what I'm saying? It's so key, man. So shout out to my man, Dwayne Brown. He said, what impact will Sam Williams have this year?
That's really up to Sam, to be honest with you. That's up to Sam. I mean, he's got the athletic ability. He thinks he's capable of 10 sacks. So it's up to him. I mean, he's got this full season now behind him. He's not a rookie anymore. And all the gifts are there. Dan Quinn thinks the world of him, thinks that he can be a big time edge rusher. And so he's got to show that he deserves to be out there and get more snaps than, let's say, Dorrance Armstrong. And he's got good enough size that there can be downs where they move him inside a little bit and rush him from in there. So, I mean, if he's playing, like his hair's on fire and he's focused and he's in on it, then he could be a double-digit sack guy. But yeah, I mean, all the intangibles, everything you look for is there. That if you told me at the end of the year that he ended up having 8 to 10 sacks, I mean, I wouldn't be totally surprised. I mean, we did a thing for the Athletic of every team writer pick a person to have a breakout season this year. I picked Sam Williams because I think he's got the potential to do that.
Go ahead, Rob. I knew I had to edit too. I had to find it. I'm over here searching for Sam Williams.
Yeah, no, I think he's a beast. I remember during that draft. First of all, when we drafted Tyler Smith, everybody was like, "Who? Why are we doing that?" I was like, "Well, first of all, give the Cowboys credit for drafting first-round offensive lineman. I think they do a pretty good job about that, right?" Yeah. Then we drafted Sam Williams in the second round. I was like, "We're not talking about this guy enough. Like, he has tremendous talent coming off the edge. I love Sam Williams. I was so excited when we got him. Tremendous bench, tremendous athleticism. Look at his versatility. He's all over the field, especially in the Dan Quinn system. When you could just, where's Micah? Where's Sam? Where's D-Law? You know what I'm saying? Where the big boys inside? Like, what are they doing? I love what Sam Williams could do. I think he's the easy choice for a defensive breakout player of the year. But then again, just like I said with CD, Mike has only had 13 sacks last year, right? I say only, but I think if he gets to 20, isn't that kind of breakout? I don't know. I think this is the time. This is the year for our superstars finally have the backup that they need, right? They finally have the players around them that we've been coveting. I think a lot of players can have some big years this year. I'm very excited. Very excited.
Yeah. Hey, look, man, speed to power to speed with this player. I mean, setting the edge. The dude is extremely powerful. Slam Williams. This is one of the guys that's going to set the tone for us, man. And a lot of people have been talking about look at that slam right there, man. That's fine.
That was almost 15, bro. That was almost 15. So I don't know. I'm gonna do
Hey, bro, listen. It wasn't 15 though. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Yes, having a player like that to be able to set the tone, it just makes it better for everybody on the defense. And a lot of people were talking about Dorrance Armstrong. They wanted to give up on Dorrance Armstrong, which is crazy to me, but I do like him. And just like I said, man, with the cornerback position, you want to bring those guys in waves. You want to bring with the pass rush position, you want to bring those guys in waves. Cornerback position, you can't have too many of them. You just want to keep loading up on those guys. It is very, very important. And just keep this guy going. I think he can have a 10 sack season. I believe so, man. I think so. You know what I mean? You just gotta have
JC. Yeah. Sorry, JC. And with the trade talks around Jordan Lewis and Dorrance Armstrong, right? It's like at this point in July, when we're 2-3 weeks away from training camp, no, I'm not trading nobody away. Like, I want all the talent that we can get, right? And that's why I bring them to $25 million in cap space. It's like, I feel like we can get more. Whatever we can do to bring more talent to this team when we're not depleted in December, January, where if we lose a Tony Pollard, our offense just goes down the toilet, right? We need as much talent as we can get. That's how the Rams won the Super Bowl. They loaded up. That's how the Eagles went to Super Bowl. They loaded up, right? Tampa Bay a few years ago, they load up. These teams load up. So it's like as much talent as you can get. At this point, don't trade nobody. Like you need to get people, right? This is weird to say for Dallas, but we're top 10 in cap right now, and it's good times. Good times on the rise. We have a lot of people to sign, but we have plenty of cap space right now.
But my thing is, you got so many people to sign, though, bro. Like, CD
Lamb.
Right now, yeah, they signed. But you got to think about Trayvon Diggs. That is huge. Micah Parsons. So I don't know if they're gonna get too cute when it comes down to that cap. But yeah, they're doing better. You know what I mean? So, all right. Okay, so we kind of running against time right now, so we got about at least 10 more minutes. But I did want to get to Mazi Smith and get your thoughts on that, John, because it is so big having that true one technique, and we all know, like when you have a one technique, a lot of people think about size. They say, "Oh yeah, he's 350 pounds," but that's just not everything when it comes down to it. Like you got to have that dog in you. You got to have athleticism. You got to have that IQ, and I think this player has it. Usually they don't pick up one techniques in the first round. They don't pick up guards in the first round. But if you see a player that's special, you go get that player, regardless with whatever position it is. If this guy can be able to make a difference, you go get that guy. And the thing is with him, right? I think that he can make it better for the linebackers. We talked about the linebackers a little bit. These offensive linemen, they're not going to be able to get to the second level. So that's going to allow the linebackers to roam, man. That is very, very important. Playing against teams like the 49ers, that is huge. I want to get your thoughts on that, John, because I think that this guy can be something special for us.
Yeah, the only thing disappointing about the way that rookie minicamp, and OTAs are now is that with the collective bargaining agreement, there's just not any contact. And because of that, it's just tough to come away from watching all those practices in the offseason and being like, oh, I saw Mazi kind of throw this guy to the side and make this, bull rush or open something up for Micah to get a sack. Like they don't even have full pads on. And one of the reasons that the Cowboys have been penalized the last two off seasons and Mike McCarthy's been fined the last two off seasons is because of too much contact, particularly in the trenches during those off season programs. So, Mazi Smith has to be at the top of your list of things that you're looking forward to seeing during, when we get out to Oxnard for training camp, when you get into these preseason games, because you want to see, like, how is this all going to work together? Now, I don't think fans should go into his rookie year thinking that Mazi Smith's going to have 4 or 5 sacks, 6 sacks or anything like that. But it's about what he's going to do in the run game, what he's going to do to open things up for the linebackers that really Dallas has been missing for a long time because they haven't put that emphasis on that defensive tackle spot. It's been too long since they've taken one in the first round. And so that's why even, the night of the first round of the draft, I did not think that they were going to take Mazi Smith. Not because I didn't think he was a good player, but because I just didn't think that they would take a defensive tackle in the first round. And so, he certainly looks the part, and when you ask the other guys about him, that, they say all the right things. So I can't wait. It's funny because usually when I go to training camp, I'm looking forward to watching the receivers and the corners match up. And don't get me wrong, I'm still looking forward to that in this one too. But right on the top of my list is I can't wait to see Mazi Smith go against Zach Martin in one-on-one drills.
Yeah, that's why I say one second, Rob. Like I say, the trenches matter, man. Me and Rob has been pressing this all off season. Offensive line, defensive line. If you're going to be able to get to where we want to go, you got to get that. You got to get the trenches right. 49ers do it all the time. So if it's a guy that's a one technique, if he's good enough, if he can be able to make it better for the cornerbacks, the linemen, the other linemen, Osa Odigizua, DeMarcus Lawrence, if they can just have gap discipline, setting the edge, doing the little things, man, I think that this defense can be taken over the top, man, and it's going to be special to see. That's why the trenches matter, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree. Like, you're not gonna be able to tell Mazi's success on his numbers, but if we're a top 5 team against the run, if Micah has 15 plus sacks, if Sam has 10 plus sacks, that means the interior of the defensive line did their job. And I think Mazi's gonna have a big part of that interior. Like over the last couple seasons, over the last 10 years almost, since I've been a Cowboys fan, so I've been watching the Cowboys over the last 25 years, right? I've seen us get gashed up the middle so many times. Like, we never emphasize stopping the run up the middle, and I believe Miles is going to be a big part of that. Him and big Mr. Hankins. You know what I'm saying? As soon as Mr. Hankins went down last year, we kind of went down a little bit, right? And I think Leighton Vander Esch could be a breakout candidate as well. if everybody stays healthy. So we'll see. I have a lot of optimism for this defense.
It would be kind of funny though if Mozzie Smith did have 4 or 5 sacks, and I just say that because of the fact of he didn't. That's the thing everybody looks at when you look at his stats at Michigan. Like he didn't get to the quarterback. He didn't sack the quarterback because that's what he wasn't asked to do. But it's just funny because Micah Parsons had a different role in college too. I mean his last year at Penn State he had 5 sacks. It's not like he had these double-digit sack seasons, but then he's used a different way, and then they're in the pros, and you're playing 17 games, and all of a sudden guys are making a different impact, and they're getting to the quarterback, and that becomes contagious and things like that. So I don't want to come off as saying, like, I don't think that he will have a few sacks. He might. I'm just saying that you shouldn't go in expecting that because of the fact of that's not going to be his number one, like, line one job. I mean, that's going to be part of it with him out there, but I mean, really it's to get in there and stop the run so that it can open things up for the rest of the defense to eat.
Yeah, but it's crazy because Will McClay, I'm not going to doubt that guy. You know what I mean? If, the way that they look at talent, I mean, possibly he could be able to run a 3 technique and be able to rush the passer. We don't know, but he's just going to have to go out there and do it. They do know that he can be able to run that 1 technique and stop the run, but if he can be able to rush the passer, that's going to be a problem. Because I'm thinking that he can be like a what's the guys from Washington, Deron Payne. I think he can be one of those guys. If you can have a guy like that, oh man, it's going to be fireworks, bro. And then having Micah Parsons, we already talked about him. It's going to be some fun times this year, man. It's going to be beautiful. Hey, shout out to my man Law Nation, man. What is good, man? My man Law Nation in the building. What's going on, baby? What is good? Yeah, man. And what was you saying now, Rob? You said something. I think you said something.
I don't know, man. DC for life. Let's move on. I forgot. Right. No, Mozzie Smith. Sorry. I'll say about Mozzie Smith. My bad. When you're talking about a guy who could bench press 325 pounds 25 times, or whatever the number was, and then he's a Jim Harbaugh guy, so he's already that toughness. You got to teach him that, and then he's still 2021. He's not even in his grown man body yet. I think the ceiling's out there for Mozzie, right? So when you start asking to rush the passer, hey, let's go get it.
Hey, it's crazy because before we get out of here, I want to get you guys training camp battles that you guys would like to see, and it's crazy because we're talking about Mozzie Smith. It's everybody knows that you want Mozzie Smith going up against Zach Martin. That is huge because setting the tone. We know that Zach Martin is going to beat him a lot. Zach Martin is going to beat up on him a lot, but can he get some push, John? Can he get some push? And I'm sure that's some of the things that you're going to want to see when you get to training camp and all that good stuff, man, because if he can be able to do that, it's hard to win against Zach Martin. Dude is a beast, but just having them trenches, seeing what those guys is doing, because when you see the trenches doing what they got to do, that's when you start feeling good about yourself saying, hey, now this team's ready to get to the 49ers, punch them dudes in the mouth, Philadelphia Eagles, whoever we going up against, it's going to be big, man. I'm real big on the trenches, John. You know what I'm saying? As far as the training camp battles, I would like to see.
Yeah, I'm big on posting training camp videos, and the ones that get the most attention are the wide receiver cornerback ones. So this is as good as it's been with the Cowboys on the corner spot. And so, the Cowboys, the entire time I've covered the team, there's always been whether it's Dez Bryant or Amari Cooper or CD. So there's going to be good wide receivers, but now I want to see these corners and these wide receivers, particularly. I want to see how the speed of Cooks matches up with some of these corners. Yeah. And those are the ones that, like, they're just anybody that's at one of those practices, it'll just jump out at you. The speed of those guys, the physicality, and the way that they play the game on the perimeter like that. So yeah, if I'm not going with Mozzie and Zach in the trenches, it's certainly all of those. Whether it's Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, or Cooks against any of the Gilmore, Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs, Jordan Lewis, like there's several levels there where there should be, good on good, some just great matchups that they have. Not even because here's the thing, like when they break up their practices in training camp, like there'll be the one-on-one individuals that are great to watch, but then they'll do 7-on-7 and then they'll have the full 11-on-11 scrimmage. So there's going to be so many opportunities where those guys are going after each other. And like they always say, that their hope is that, iron sharpens iron.
Hey, look, I was just about to say that. Hey, look, I was like, hey, tell him, Machota, iron sharpens iron. That's what I was just about to say. You need that. That's what you need, man. It's going to be big. Go ahead, Rob.
Hey, John, I was reading your article the other day on your listing your 12 your 12 position groups in order. Right. And
real quick before you say anything, by far the hard. I've done that several times over the years. That was by far the most difficult one because there weren't that many. For so many years it was D tackle and safety. You're just like, we'll put them at the bottom. They're just telling the rest of the league that they're not trying to even invest here. But this year, like I had linebackers at 12, and I was like, I don't know. There's a couple of spots you could have there instead of them. Special teams up in the air. But this year was the hardest it was because there really aren't the huge, just obvious, position group hole.
And so you had wide receivers at, I believe, 5 or 6. Yeah. And then you had safeties at 4 or 5.
I had it high. Yeah, I had them higher than wide receivers.
And I was like, yo, I love our safeties. I always talk about our safeties, but to have them higher than our wide receivers, I was like, hey, I can't wait for the the training camp battles. But what's your reason for having the safeties above the star-studded wide receivers led by CeeDee Lamb and all that? And
it's fireworks with them.
Because I still have questions about Gallup. Like I need to see, he has to show that he's all the way back from that knee injury. He says he is. Yeah. But again, those are things that you're not going to really see from the way that the OTAs and minicamps are structured. So because of that, it's like, yes, I do think that CD and Brandon Cooks certainly are, that they should be fine in that. And then I just have a lot of questions about wide receivers 4 and 5. Whereas at safety, I'm pretty confident at their top 4 safeties, and there would even be people in the organization that would say, because I'm counting Israel Mukwamu in that group. But there's people in that organization will tell you that Marquise Bell deserves to be in that group. I mean, that their safety spot is just like there's just a lot of depth there. But I mean, to your point though, like I'm saying, like it was the toughest for me to rank. If you did a ranking off of it and you had wide receivers at 4 and safeties at 5 or 6, I wouldn't have a huge argument with it. Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate it. Hey, network, go check out that article. It was a good read. I was like, this could be interesting. I actually can't wait to see Mozzie Smith versus Tyler Smith. 2 young boys, two big boys, two power on power guys, right? Yeah. I actually don't want Mozzie going against Zach Martin that much. Zach getting a little old, you know what I'm saying? He can still dominate, but I don't want him, I don't want that smoke right now. Mozzie on Tyler, that's gonna be like, let's go.
Tyler's a monster. Tyler's a monster.
This is the future of the Cowboys right here. Like,
yeah. Hey, shout out to Will McClay, yo. Really. All right, y'all. Well, hey, look, man, this was good, y'all. This was so good, man. Thank you so much, John. Let them know where they can find you at. I got the Athletic. You know what I'm saying? I got that. I've been looking at the Beast. I've been looking at all the articles. You know what I mean? Let them know where they can find you at, bro.
Yeah, at the Athletic for sure. I mean, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, and if you are, I appreciate it. And then on Twitter, I'm still on Twitter. I know Threads is making a run. I signed up for it, but I'll believe that everyone makes their shift. I mean, I go on Twitter for sports. I mean, that's 99% of what I'm doing anyway, and that's where all the sports news breaks. And so, as long as that's where the sports news is breaking, that's where I'll be. So yeah, follow me on Twitter. But and whether it's Twitter or Instagram or Threads, whatever, it's the same exact handle. It's all at Jon Machota. So appreciate the follow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. My wife was telling me about this tread or whatever is on Instagram, right? I'm trying to figure out. She put me onto it, but she's saying that it's the new Twitter and stuff like that. So I say, all right, well, we'll see how that all works. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you know who would make the difference for me? It's like if you tell me Adrian Wojnarowski starts go over there, Shams Charania, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, if they're breaking all of like the major NFL news over there, like in sports, like a lot of sports fans are going to go with wherever that's going. I just don't see those guys all making that shift right now because they have such huge followings on Twitter. So maybe it's a progressive thing where like maybe it's over the next year or something. Right. But for that to even happen, I just think that Twitter would just have to just make some just awful decisions along the way where everyone's just like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm out, But it's just like, I've been Twitter for, almost 15 years, and there's a lot of people the same thing. And I'm on there like 99% of my content that I put on Twitter is, putting out Cowboys news and stuff like that because that's what I use it for is sports.
I'll be looking for you. I'll be like, I'm gonna see where it's posted at, man. That's why I got so much respect for you, man. It's so awesome having you on. That's why I had to have this thing prepared for us and such good energy. Cowboys Nation, thank y'all so much for all the energy. Fire emojis in the chat, man. This is the first one with my man Machota. It's gonna be many more to come. Shout out to my man Captain Rob. Captain Rob, let him know what's good, man. Let him know, man. You know what I'm saying? Give him what you got.
We are 2 months away from the NFL season. This is the time. I've been saying it since the end of the first 49ers game, first 49ers playoff game. When we lost on that Dak scramble up the middle, I was like, yo, just wait a year. We got to reset some things. We have to retool some things. This is the year we finally went out and got our players. Everybody's healthy for the most part. It's gonna be an interesting camp coming up. Tyler versus Smith versus Smith, Smith versus Martin, the secondary versus wide receivers. You know what I'm saying? Iron sharpens iron. Dak coming off 15 picks. What's he gonna do? All the Dak slander I've heard this week, it got me fired for the show. I was listening to Shane McCoy. I was like, hey, Shane, I know you're still banging, running back, but bro, stop talking about my boy like that. But he's always talking the the nonsense. But the Dak slander is just like, I want him to put this to rest so bad. I want this so bad, and that's just me. So I can only imagine how the rest of Cowboy Nation feels, and how the players feel, and how the staff feels, how the athletic feels, how John feels, how JC feels. You know what I'm saying? Let's go get this. This the year.
Hey, this is the year, guys. All right, one thing, man, no excuses. The time is now. You got the talent. It's been a long time. You know what I'm saying? He said the coach 45.
Ain't gonna cut it ready.
Yeah, hey, next time you come on here, Machota, you got to bring like a beer or something. You know what I'm saying?
It's a lounge. It's Friday night. Hanging out.
Or some water. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. We always got good energy, man. Thank y'all so much. And yeah, man, we'll be back for another one. All right. Gone. See ya, y'all. All right, man. This was good, y'all.